Truss becomes Prime Minister of the United Kingdom with the shortest term in history after deciding to step down on her 45th day in office. On Thursday, 2010, Truss announced he was resigning after his leadership continued to be criticized and pressured for implementing radical policies, including massive tax cuts. "I can't carry on the mandate that got me elected by the Conservative Party," Truss said in announcing his resignation. In his address to Downing Street, Truss said he had submitted his resignation to King Charles III. With that, Truss said the election of the replacement PM would take place within the next week. Prior to Truss, George Canning was Prime Minister of the UK with the shortest term of 119 days. Canning was elected Prime Minister of England in 1827. Truss himself was elected Prime Minister of Britain to replace Boris Johnson, who resigned in early September due to a series of scandals within his government. Meanwhile, Truss resigned amid public pressure because of the various crises that continue to strangle Britain after he came to power. He had apologized for his policy mistakes that caused many investors to flee so that the economic crisis got worse amid the threat of a recession. The British Central Bank had to intervene to prevent pension funds from being dragged into the chaos. Not only that, the Conservative Party lawmakers said Truss' political policies caused a lot of damage. British Prime Minister Liz Truss announced her resignation today, Thursday, 2010, just 45 days after she was elected. "I can't carry on the mandate that got me elected by the Conservative Party," Truss said in announcing his resignation. However, Truss stated that he would remain at the helm of Britain until a successor was elected. The UK will hold a new PM election next week. Truss resigned amid public pressure because of the various crises that continue to strangle Britain after he came to power. The strategy includes cutting the tax rate to 45% and increasing government borrowing. The Bank of England even had to intervene to prevent pension funds from being dragged into the chaos. Not only that, a Conservative Party lawmaker said Truss' political policies caused a lot of damage. British Prime Minister Liz Truss resigns Thursday, 2010. Thus, the UK experienced 2 PM changes in just 3 months. "Given the current difficulties, I cannot accept the mandate of the Prime Minister. I am going to meet the King," Truss said, as quoted by Reuters. Truss resigned amid public pressure because of the various crises that continue to strangle Britain after he came to power. He had apologized for his policy mistakes that caused many investors to flee so that the economic crisis got worse amid the threat of the recession. The British Central Bank had to intervene to prevent pension funds from being dragged into the chaos. As public pressure grew, Truss finally announced his resignation. However, he will still lead Britain until his successor is elected in next week's election. Before Truss resigned, the British Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, criticized Truss severely about the PM's economic policies, which were considered to exacerbate the crisis. Shortly after launching the criticism, Braverman resigned. "I'm worried about the direction of the current government. Not only are we breaking a key promise to our voters, I'm also worried about the current government's commitments," Braverman said. Prime Minister before Truss, Boris Johnson, also resigned after dozens of officials resigned because they were fed up with his attitude and policies. Johnson has been involved in a number